Hello, my name is Elaine Nichols. I'm a Master's in Environmental Management student at Western Colorado University. I'm also the Habitat Restoration Program Coordinator for Friends of the Verde River in Cottonwood, Arizona. My project is titled Community Science for Verde Watershed Improvement. I want to set the backdrop of my project by talking about the Verde Watershed Restoration Coalition, which is also called VWORK. VWORK is a collaborative partnership of federal, tribal, state, and municipal land managers, conservation organizations, private landowners, NGOs, and others specifically interested in improving and protecting the Verde watershed. The VWORK Steering Committee recently completed a new strategic plan that lined out various conservation objectives. The goals within the plan that relate to my project include sediment and erosion control, reducing accelerated erosion, attaining state clean water standards through water quality monitoring and evaluation, and providing volunteer and educational opportunities to assist in river conservation efforts and develop watershed stewards. The outcomes from these objectives within my project include locating sites where future erosion control projects can happen, gathering water quality data for Arizona Department of Environmental Quality to use for management decisions, and accomplishing these outcomes while building a community of people who care about the river. Areas of accelerated erosion in the form of gullies and rills are a major problem throughout the Verde watershed. The picture on the right shows a gully system moving upwards through the landscape. Areas like this can lead to sedimentation within the Verde River. This sedimentation negatively impacts both aquatic ecosystems and water management efforts downstream. In addition to the downstream impacts of gullies, they also have an immediate impact on the landscape surrounding them. As gullies cut into the landscape, they lower the water table and thus the capacity for the land to hold water and grow plants. This is especially important in the desert Southwest, where most of our water is stored underground. To address areas of accelerated erosion, the Coconino National Forest recently published a NEPA scoping letter to complete gully restoration work across the Red Rock Ranger District near Sedona, Arizona. In order for these efforts to be a success, the land managers need a comprehensive understanding of where and to what degree this accelerated erosion is occurring. Enter Gully Busters. My project engages community science, also known as Gully Busters, to collect this information. The data they collect will then inform project planning. These pictures on the left show what it looks like to be a Gully Buster. In 2018, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, or ADQ, designated the Verde River as an impaired waterway. This designation prompted ADQ to prioritize the Verde River as a sampling site and to join VWORK to work to develop collaborative water quality monitoring and improvement projects. According to the Verde Watershed Report Card, water quality data in the watershed is currently inadequate. In order to understand where water quality improvement projects are most necessary, it's critical for us to have statistically significant sample size that represents water quality throughout the watershed. ADQ currently has a statewide citizen science program, and they're in need of local partner support to build upon their existing infrastructure. My project functions as a partnership between ADQ and Friends of the Verde River and other VWORK stakeholders. We're utilizing ADQ's water quality expertise and Friends of the Verde River's local community knowledge to engage volunteers and create watershed stewards focused on water quality monitoring. A third goal that came out of the VWORK strategic plan was to build a community of river stewards. By creating volunteer opportunities, we not only get important restoration work done, we build a community of people with a vested interest in the Verde River. This interest and commitment can spread throughout the community far beyond our restoration work. Also, personally, talking to people about the river and getting them excited about the watershed is my favorite part of my job. With the VWork goals and objectives in mind, we developed a timeline. This timeline shows Gully Busters progress and the water quality monitoring progress. I'll talk through the Gully Busters progress first. So first thing we did was apply for funding. We put in a grant application to the Forest Service Sit-Side program, and we received the funding in 2019. This was a collaborative effort between Friends of the Verde River and the Coconino National Forest hydrologists. Once we got the funding, we moved into developing the monitoring protocol. I looked at previously existing monitoring protocols around gullies and erosion and worked with the forest hydrologist to ensure that we were going to be answering the questions he wanted to answer. Once we developed our first draft, we took it to the VWork working group that focuses on erosion and sediment. We solicited their feedback, and I incorporated comments and feedback from multiple hydrologists and specialists in the field. After we finalized that protocol, I developed a field app using Survey 123, an Esri application. And that was a pretty good application and a good learning process for me. Once the field app was complete, we started field testing. So we took out a student group, led them on a talk about erosion and gullies, and we tested out the app and tried out the protocol. I also took out a group of staff from Friends of the Verde River to test it out as well. Next step is volunteer recruitment and training. So I am a full-time employee at Friends of the Verde River, and I don't plan on leaving. So I plan on continuing this project post-graduation. So we'll be moving into recruiting volunteers and training volunteers soon. And then once the volunteers are on the ground, it'll be volunteer management and data management, specifically making sure that we get our data to our partners in a timely manner and in an accessible and useful way. Once they have the data and we can make some conclusions, we'll be able to implement erosion control projects in some of the areas where the gullies have been located. These projects will look a little like this. This is another project that we've worked on. This is a Zuni bowl that's installed in a head cut of a gully. So on the left is the before, on the right is the after. The rocks are all installed to slow down water as it moves through the system so that it won't take sediment with it and so that it can absorb into the landscape. I'll also talk about our water quality monitoring progress. So we worked very closely with Arizona Department of Environmental Quality to apply for a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation 5-star in Urban Waters grant. And this was our second year of applying for it, and we were granted the money. So we got a total for this Gully Busters and water quality monitoring is $57,000 raised. So that's very exciting. That was a great experience to get to write the application and eventually get the good news. So we found out in the fall of 2020 that we received funding and got to work with ADEQ. They have already developed a water quality monitoring protocol, and they are working on developing an app as well. So we'll be using that. And I'm working with them right now to determine sites that are useful for them to where we can test the water quality and places where we have access from partners and interest from volunteers as well. We'll then move into field testing and then volunteer recruitment and training. We have a lot of volunteers interested in the water quality monitoring program, so I'm excited for that step. And then the data will go straight to ADEQ so they can submit it to the EPA. And we will also be able to access the data so that we can make some decisions about our erosion control projects with water quality in mind as well. Finally, I want to thank everyone that helped me throughout this process. I look forward to continuing this work. Thank you for watching my presentation as well, and I look forward to your questions afterwards.